Draper City Talk is a podcast produced by the municipal government of Draper City, Utah, where we discuss local government services and issues and the community at large. Hi, Draper City. Mayor Troy Walker here with you. Welcome back. We're doing another one of our Draper City Talk podcasts, and this is going to be a good one. Today I have with me Lieutenant Mike Elkins from the Draper City Police Department, and we're going to talk about what's all of the rage in the news, and that is these e-motorcycles, e-bikes, e-scooters, and most importantly, the change in the state law about enforcing the law regarding the use of these vehicles, because they're proliferating across Utah and everywhere else, I assume. So anyway, I'm glad to have you, Mike. I want to thank Asia and Alex for our production. Thank you both for being here and making sure we put this podcast together in a way that's usable to the public. So I'm glad again to be with you all, and we're excited. Mike, tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been a police officer, maybe you started your career, and then a little bit about your experience here in Draper.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Mayor. I've been here just over 16 years. This has been the only city I've worked for. It's that good of a city. It's kind of funny. I'm thinking about when I started. The day barn was still on 123rd South. There were no through U-turns, no high school, no middle school. We had like 30 sworn officers back then. We're up to like 54 now. The town just it grows, and we do our thing. We've had some good times, we've had some bad times, and the support from our public has been amazing. So great place to work, great community to serve. So glad to be here.
You came out of the academy to Draper.
I did, straight here.
Started on the road, patrol officer.
Yep,
And
did a little bit of time as a motorcycle cop, so I apologize to anybody I might have written a ticket to back then.
Are we still riding motorcycles?
We're not.
We're out of that business.
No, we need to get back into it. It was a great gig. I mean, riding around on a Harley.
Yeah, I know. Except I think riding around today on a motorcycle is about as dangerous a thing as you can do.
It truly is. I used to do it recreationally. I don't anymore.
Yeah, I got rid of my Harley after I got hit by something on the road in the chest.
Yeah, that'll do it.
A piece of a brick, and that was the end of my Harley riding days. So that's probably good. I think liability-wise, we're probably glad not we're riding motorcycles anymore.
Definitely.
So you've been with us a long time, and you've had an opportunity to advance. Obviously, you're a lieutenant now. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm proud of that.
Yeah. And we have 5 lieutenants, and we have 1 captain, and we have a chief. So that's our command structure. And how many sergeants do we have?
We're up to 8 now. So we have 6 sergeants per one per each patrol shift. So we run 6 shifts. So one of the things I do is I handle our A side patrol division. We have another lieutenant that runs the B side. We have a lieutenant that kind of handles all of our training. He's our Office of Professional Standards. So he does equipment. He does training. We have 2 investigation sergeants. And so that's kind of our team that keeps the place running.
Awesome. Okay. Well, part of our job, part of your job as local law enforcement is, of course, to enforce traffic laws. And I will say the department is doing a fantastic job at enforcing traffic, speeding, and writing a lot of tickets. And I might make the public mad, but what's interesting about that is, we would hear I get emails occasionally, council members do, about, hey, we need more tickets being written in this town. There's too much speeding, there's too much reckless driving, or too much stuff. It's interesting to have people ask you to have the police go out and write tickets. So the council said, hey, you guys need to get out there and write some tickets. And I will say you've been doing a good job of it. But the benefit of it is, people say, oh, you're just trying to make revenue and money, and no, we're not. But we are trying to get a lot of tickets written, because what it does, and what it has done statistically, is that our problem intersections, and that's where we spend our time, we have reduced accidents, not only all accidents, but serious accidents, fatalities. I think the last I saw was like 35-40%, just by being out there and getting people to pay attention. So
yeah, this is an argument I've had with people my entire career. Nobody wants a ticket. I've had my fair share in life. My wife gets them, even the whole cop's wife thing, she still gets citations. The thing is what I try to tell people, and having been in this position, I would rather write 100 tickets as opposed to going to someone's house and telling them that someone they love isn't coming home or is severely injured.
Absolutely.
To me, that's, and I'll do that 1,000 times before I want to make that notification. And I've been on both sides of that. I've written the tickets and hopefully made a difference and slowed someone down or brought their attention to a stop sign so they didn't get T-boned, down the road. But I've also notified people about their loved ones, and that is probably the worst thing that you'll ever have to do in this career. So, slow down.
Yeah, and that kind of segues into the next topic, which is what we're here for, is these e-motorcycles, the e-bikes, the scooters. Now, first of all, these things are dangerous. They're just, I mean, the amount of power that they have in the batteries in these vehicles now, if you're riding them and you're not wearing a helmet, for one, you're really asking for a serious head injury and maybe a fatality, because some of them will do over 80 miles an hour. They're amazing. Let's talk a little bit about, because if you've driven around this community or if you've been on our trails, you've had a kid or kids, maybe 3 or 4 on one of these scooters, come down the trail past you, maybe going over 20 miles an hour. Or you've seen these kids riding these what look like motorcycles. One of the manufacturer names is a Sur-On. I know there's other brands, but that's probably the one people are most familiar with. But that's a machine that looks just like a YZ150 or a YZ100. Looks like a dirt bike, and those are fast. Oh, yeah. They're really fast. They're capable of. We have them riding around on the road. We have them riding in our parks on the grass, tearing it up, making ruts and ruining parks. And then we have them up on the open space, riding on trails that are for hiking and for biking and not for motorcycles. And so we've got a lot of issues with them. Let's talk a little bit about them. So 2026 legislative session. So this year, the state legislators have heard enough complaints from every trail user, everybody around, about these electric powered vehicles. And so the law changed, and so now they're regulating and actually finally defining what each one is. And we have categories: e-motorcycles, e-bikes, which I own one of, scooters, and then other electronic devices.
Yeah.
So those are the categories. So let's talk about what have been some of the issues you've seen in the police department with these vehicles?
We've had a lot of issues. And to be quite honest, I would say the vast majority of the issues are coming from the e-motorcycles. And the problem is with those is they're not legal anywhere. It's like you said, it's the same as someone getting out their 80, 100, 150cc dirt bike and tearing it up. But the problem is we've got kids as 13, 14, 15, and they're riding them down the main roads, and they're riding them on the trails at high speeds, and they're knocking people off the trails. We've got a gentleman who was on the trail, and a group came by and was so fast it caught him, and he ended up in the creek there, and he has injuries from it. And we've got him. A couple of months back, I was driving down 1300 East, right there by the park, and there's 2 of them riding side by side on one wheel. They're doing wheelies down the road. This is probably 4 or 5 p.m. That's a busy road.
Rush hour.
Yeah, that's a very busy road. It's basically one lane each way. There's a whole row of cars. I thought to myself, it's just going to take one thing: one rock, one loss of balance, and the kid's going to have a group of cars roll over him. And that's the exact stuff that we're trying to prevent. The property damage is one thing, because I try to tell people that's your tax dollars that are going to have to fix that. So, talk to your kids.
I think about that Bellevue Park,
over
by where I live, and they just have worn a track in our grass, just like it's just fine to go out there and just tear up the park.
There's damage over at Draper Park, and I've talked to the parks guys. They're frustrated because they spend their days trying to fix the same areas just to have it destroyed the next day. So,
and I'll tell you, this is an interesting problem, because I recently started doing justice court prosecution in the city of Harriman. So I've been a defense attorney, most of my career, and I do some prosecution for the district attorney's office for conflicts. But I got asked to fill in for someone at Harriman, and they ended up they kept me doing it. So I've been doing it for about 7-8 months now, and I've prosecuted a few of these kids on these Surons that have hit people, hit cars, hit into actual humans on the sidewalk or on a trail. It's an interesting concept, though, because I think the problem with these things is it happens in cities that are more affluent because these things are expensive. This one young man I was prosecuting, they told me the bike costs about $5,000. Now, look, mountain bikes are, I have lots of mountain bikes that cost more than that, but they're still expensive. And so it's interesting to me that a parent will buy one of their kids one of these and just unleash them on the highway. Just, here you go, 13-year-old. Here's a motorcycle that's not legal anywhere. It'll do 80 miles an hour. Have fun.
Well, I was thinking about that same thing too, and I was thinking to myself, this stuff's been all over social media for years probably. I remember this coming an issue in Draper probably 2 years ago, and it kind of hit me as kind of funny that you're going to spend $5,000 for a bike, but you're not going to take your kid out to the sand dunes for a day and just let him go where it's intended to go, And it's like, go have a family outing. Take your kid out to the sand dunes and let him rip it up where it's totally acceptable.
Right. But what we have is parents giving them to them. They just ride them on the road like they're a street legal vehicle, and they're not.
No, they're not. And isn't that unfortunate that those things should have to come before you as a prosecutor? This, to me, and I've done several media interviews about this, and my thoughts, and I think the direction of the police department was the same. This, if you're talking 13 to 15-year-olds, this really is a parenting issue first.
Absolutely.
It shouldn't be a police department issue. It shouldn't be a Parks and Rec, or anybody that has to fix that damage. This starts at home when you're going to buy your child something like this. Let's have that discussion about responsible use. Let's have that discussion about staying off the main roads. I mean, my kid's a capable driver, but I'm certainly not going to send him out there into the world unprepared. And,
let's talk about the specific vehicle so we can get this covered. E-motorcycle. Let me have you read the definition, and this is the definition in the state code. So if you want to know what an e-motorcycle is, we're going to tell you. So, Mike, tell us. Go ahead and read this. I think these talking points that we have hit every point. So go ahead and give us a definition of an e-motorcycle.
So yeah, with the new legislation coming out, the state's determined that if it's got a power rating of more than 750 watts, and I don't know what the average on those what most people are buying at $5,000, but I know it's well above that.
Yeah, they're over 1,000 watts.
Yeah.
Most of them.
If you can do more than 20 miles per hour using the motor alone, you've got an e-motorcycle. So there's been some provisions. I think you've probably seen that on social media, that if you have something different and you've modified it now to accelerate past that 20, you may no longer have what you think you have. You may have pushed it into a class where it becomes an e-motorcycle.
So we're talking about the distinction here is it can exceed 20 miles per hour with just the use of the electric motor.
Right.
Okay, because there are e-bikes, commuter e-bikes, and even some of the newer mountain bikes have a mode for commuting, and they'll go up to 28 miles an hour, but they don't have a throttle, and that only occurs with your inputting, pedal input to get the bike.
And that's one of the big things is the pedals. If it's got pedals, I usually tell people if it's got pedals, you're probably safe, as long as you're using it appropriately.
Right. Okay, so operators of an e-motorcycle must meet all the requirements applicable to the motorcycle, including the following. Go over them here.
Yeah, it's going to be just like a regular motorcycle you see on the road. You got to be 16, got to have a driver's license with the endorsement. It's got to be registered, and you got to have insurance. If you're not 21, you got to wear a DOT approved helmet. And with any others, just like anything else, if you see those red and blues or the fire department or ambulance, you've got to pull over and yield. So, and the other thing that wasn't listed in this is those DUI rules apply as well. So.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
Hopefully that's not the case with a 13-year-old. But
And the insurance is another great thing because, here's a scenario. Your kid's out there riding their Suron and they hit a car and they cause the damage. You probably don't have insurance on the Suron. So, you're going to be an uninsured driver. That's a Class B misdemeanor. You're also going to be on the hook for all the damage. It just, I don't even know if you can buy insurance on these. You probably can for use out in the dirt, like a dirt bike or something. But so 16 years old, driver's license. It's a vehicle. There's some weird reason that because it had a battery and it's super quiet, everyone's like, oh, that's different. Well, the state law now says it's exactly the same as a Enduro Honda. If 500 Enduro Honda, you owned one of those, had blinkers and headlights. It's the same vehicle. Of course, these don't have blinkers. They don't have all the stuff that's required. They're not street legal.
Yeah, and I haven't talked to anybody yet that has found a method to make them street legal. I'm sure it's probably in the works, and there may be a way out there, but at this point, I have not seen it.
And this is interesting, this part of the law. Owners of e-motorcycles, parents, who allow minors to operate them can be held liable for the vehicle being driven illegally and for any destruction of property or personal injury caused. Now, typically in the law, you're not responsible for what someone else does. But in this particular case, if we catch one of little Johnny in the park tearing it up, we're going to come to the parents to get the thing fixed. Yeah. And that's what the law allows us to do.
Well, and the funny thing is, I was over at Draper Park the other day and stopped two kids on e-motos. And I asked them, I said, your parents know? Like, yeah, they told me to ride to school. I was shocked by that. I mean.
Okay. So be aware of that, folks, as we enforce the law. And we're going to start enforcing the law. We're absolutely going to do it because the request by citizens to do it is high. And the safety, the concern is also high. So e-motorcycles, so we've already told you what they are, not allowed on any Draper sidewalk path, including Porter Rockwell Trail, Bunny Bradley Trail. None of the trails are these allowed on. They're illegal on them. Park property or trails, they may be ridden only on city streets if properly registered and approved for off-road areas and must follow the same traffic laws as motorcycles. So if you can somehow get your electric motorcycle street legal, you could ride it on city streets.
Yes.
And it's just like no one would expect you to, with your, Honda 400 to be able to ride down Porter Rockwell Trail at, high peak traffic or any time, just ripping down there on a dirt bike. Same thing. Okay. So, and this is kind of interesting, and I want to get your take on this. Anyone who observes the illegal operation of an e-motorcycle, which is probably going to be any Draper citizen on any given minute, can report to police dispatch at 801-840-4000. If there are concerns of immediate harm, that's when you call 911. But
Right.
Otherwise, it's the non-emergency number.
Right. And we get several of those calls a day. And, we respond as we can. Unfortunately, we live in a world where resources are finite and, there's a lot of other things going on. But we do. And we've been very creative about our enforcement with those things. You may find us at the high school in unmarked and plainclothes officers, trying to enforce that rule.
Right.
There's ways. I don't want to throw all the cards on the table. But
in
ways.
court Wednesday in Harriman City, we've got a break. I'm looking out the window. Harriman has this great ice skating rink right out in front of their city hall, a nice little park. I'm standing in the courtroom, looking out the window Wednesday afternoon, and there's 3 kids on the Surons, and they're ripping across the grass. They're riding the skating ring, and it's right out in front of the police station. I mean, literally. It was amazing to watch. 3 kids on the Surons, and there were some kids on the scooters and various different things. All of them illegal, all of them in the park, all of them breaking the law. But just, I guess we just need to get the word out so people know because it was kind of interesting.
Yeah, we get that all the time. We will have kids try to film it. They like to try to challenge us to chase them down and then film it. And I guess there's some social media clout to be had.
Yeah, and when you run from the police, that's a separate charge, right? Fleeing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's you be paying a visit to the juvenile court.
Kids and parents, if you're listening, I hope you are, you tell your kids if the police want to stop them, they're on one of these vehicles and they run, they might get away, but they're eventually, when we catch up, it's going to be a lot more serious than whatever it was to begin with. And when they flee, they might get hurt, or they might hurt someone else. And that's why we care about fleeing.
And that's the biggest thing is we don't want them to, again, get hurt. And it's an unfortunate reality of when you put your kid on one of these.
Okay, let's go to, I think everybody's pretty clear on what the e-motorcycle is, because they look like motorcycles, most of them. And so let's go to e-bikes now, and some definitions and scooters. So a Class 1 e-bike is pedal assist only, max speed 20 miles per hour.
Yeah, these are very, very, very common. They look like a regular bike, operate like a regular bike, good to go.
No throttle.
Right.
I have one of these bikes. And at 20, right as you approach 20, most of the motors start to phase out. So the closer you get to 20 miles per hour, the less power it will give you. And when you hit 20 on my bike, I have a Specialized Levo. When I get to 20, it's all me. Anything above 20 is all me. But as it gets close to 20, it starts to govern itself. Class 2 e-bike, throttle, pedal, max speed 20.
These are actually pretty common around here too. I'm trying to think of a brand name that would kind of bring it to mind, and nothing comes to mind. But we see a lot of them out there. They can pedal or they can hit the throttle. A lot of them, as I understand, you need to pedal to kind of keep the battery charged, so they don't run forever. You do eventually have to stop and pedal and kind of get it back up to where they're going. But
what's the law regarding those?
So again, 20 miles per hour. They're treated very similar to a bicycle.
Okay.
You can ride them on the road, or where following the road of traffic with like a bicycle.
You could ride those on a trail.
You can ride them on a trail as long as you're pedaling.
Right.
As soon as you start kicking in the motor, you're kind of switching over to that whole e-moto thing, it becomes an issue.
So if you're going up the canyon, you got to be pedaling this thing. Mm-hmm. You can't be using the throttle.
Yeah. And these are very popular amongst kids. I see a lot of these at the high schools and the middle school because they do give you that. You get 5-10 minutes of not having to pedal. I actually stopped a kid who had removed his chain. And I'm like, well, you're kind of changing the rules now.
Yeah.
So
hard for it to be a Class 2 without a chain.
Yeah. But we don't,
a belt or whatever drives it back.
We don't have a lot of problems with it because they are pretty slow, and we don't have them riding wheelies down the road and stuff like that.
Do the younger than 16 have to wear helmets when they ride those?
Yes, the same as like a bike.
Okay, so you got your young kid on one of those, and they're under 16.
Get them a helmet.
Get them a helmet. Okay. I remember during the COVID lockdown, I was up in the canyon riding. And all these new people were out getting outside because that was the only thing you could do, and it was cool. But I remember one day I was coming down the canyon. I think I counted 40 people on bikes with no helmets in Corner Canyon. 10 of them on Rush, no helmet. And I thought at first I had to say something to people, and then I thought, I don't know, more Social Security for me. No, I'm just kidding. But, I mean, it was amazing to me how many people ride without helmets. It's astounding to me.
I won't even walk Rush without a helmet. Yeah. So,
because, you can fall over in your driveway. If you don't have a helmet on, you're going to wish you did. So it's pretty important to have one. All right, let's go now to Class 3 e-bikes. These are pedal assist only, max of 28 miles per hour, but they have to have a speedometer.
Yep. There's a little bit more restrictions on these. That's again, you've got the 28 speedometer, like it says. These ones now I thought they had changed this, and I didn't see this in the legislation, but I thought there was age restrictions on these ones as well, if you're going to operate above that speed.
Yeah, 28 miles per hour is too fast in the canyon or on any of our paved trails.
Correct.
So you can't ride these bikes on those places. Okay, now let's go to what's probably the most common, motor-assisted scooter. Go ahead and tell us about those.
Motor-assisted scooters, very common. Looks like a scooter's got a seat. You see a lot of them rolling around with the oversized tires. Those, they have kind of the same rules as bicycles. But again, you've got some speed limit restrictions, 20 miles an hour max. I've heard stories where they can be modified to go faster than that. If you do that, that's not good. Leave it alone. And the other thing that's restricted on here that we see a lot of is you'll see 5 kids on these things. You'll have 3 on the seat, 2 sitting down the deck. Don't do that. That's not only is that illegal, it's really, really unsafe.
So these things, you see those a lot. They're under 20. The minute you modify it above 20, it's an e-motorcycle.
Yeah, you're changing that class. Yeah, and I believe that's one of the changes they put in the new law this year, because that's always been a question. Anybody with a computer can change modes and things like that. So, but don't ride them in the road. They're not allowed in the roadway. You're not entitled to a use of a lane like a bicycle. So,
yeah, they're not a bicycle. So they're unlike those class 1, 2, and 3 e-bikes. These things are not supposed to be on the road.
Right.
Okay. All right. Let's go now to my favorite one. One I wish I could ride, but I've tried and fallen a few times. The self-balancing electric skateboard, i.e., the one wheel.
The one wheel. I've seen people on these doing incredible speeds, and it just shocks me. But they're kind of their own little world. Keep it out of the road again, and wear a helmet for sure. That's a weird way to get around.
Okay, we're getting close to our time. Let's go to something else. So then I'll just be quick. We have the electronic personal assisted mobility device, like a Sedgway. They're less than 750 watts, and they go max at 12 and a half miles an hour. High-powered electric device, a self-propelled vehicle other than a motor vehicle that goes greater than 20 miles per hour. Now, what is that? Modified e-bike?
That's a good question. I think that's a catch-all. I don't know what kind of self-propelled vehicle other than a motor vehicle, unless you've modified a go-kart or something.
Let's go to the key new rules. Age and supervision. So under 8, tell us what we can't do.
Yeah, don't ride on a public property.
You can't operate any motor-assisted scooter, e-bike, or on any public property.
Right.
Okay. Ages 8 to 15, motor-assisted scooters.
Yep. You need to have your parents close by. Again, those things, no adult supervision required for motor-assisted scooters on streets. But after the law has passed, which it has, you can only be on the street if you're under the direct supervision of your adult. Or when we start doing the personal electric vehicle safety certificate training, if you have that, you'll be good to go.
Okay, so if you don't have the certificate, mom and dad got to be
within view.
Within view.
Yeah.
So you can't just put them out on the road and let them go.
Right.
Get the certificate, then they'll be able to be unsupervised.
Yeah.
Okay. Age requirements for e-bikes. Let's go with that.
So again, we talked about those class 3s that do 28. That's the 16. If you're under 16, you can't ride it on the street. Under age 14, for parent or guardian supervision for operation of class 2 or 1 e-bikes on streets, beginning May 5th, which we've already passed. 8 to 15 will require parental or guardian supervision for personal electric vehicle safety certificate to operate on the street. And then if you're 16 or older, be safe.
Okay. Now, tell me and we got a few minutes left. What happens if you catch little Johnny on his Sur-On or on his e-motorcycle and he's exceeding the law? What are the penalties going to be?
So there's a lot there. If your parents are aware of it, they're definitely going to be notified. If they are allowing you to do it, they may face charges. We may impound the motorcycle. Parents are going to have to pay to get it back, and you may face charges as far as operating without proper equipment or an off-road vehicle on the road without all the requirements. So there's a lot to it, and we don't want to get that way. We don't want it to turn that way, but we obviously have the safety of the whole community to look out for, and if that's what we have to do, we will.
Yeah, and I think of one of the most significant parts of the change in this law is that owners may be liable if a minor is operating the vehicle and violates the law.
Yeah, and that, again, comes back to what we said earlier, that this should be a parenting issue. I've heard stories about parents telling their kids if they see police cars, don't stop, just go. They won't chase you. And that's obviously horrible advice to give your kid, because there's other ways to identify and track down the kids that do this.
They used to say you can run, but not outrun the radio.
Or the drone, or your friends, or the SRO, or social media, or all the other stuff that's now out there.
Yeah, the best part is when you do something stupid and put it on social media.
Oh, yeah,
that's
that happens all the time.
Right? Another interesting thing about this law is it allows not only just impounding, but confiscation of the vehicle.
Yeah.
confiscate it, take it.
And again, not things we want to do because we know that's a big investment. But, at the end of the day, if there's a public safety, benefit to the community, we'll do what we have to do.
Well, folks, we're kind of out of time now. We're probably going to talk a little bit longer about some of it. Hopefully, we've made it a little clearer than it was before. We certainly have information on our website. We're pushing information out on the city website. The police department's pushing information out. If you have these vehicles you purchased for your children, you need to get up to speed on the law quickly, because we are going to enforce it. We're going to enforce it the best we can, and it's going to be interesting as we go forward. But there's now teeth to the enforcement of these vehicles. They've been defined. I think the definitions are good enough that you can't really weasel out of them in court. But we'll see. I mean, there might be modifications as it goes forward as we prosecute these cases and make the definitions make sense. But the bottom line, I think, for myself and the entire city council, I know our Draper Police Department, is we don't want your kids to get hurt. We don't want your kids to hurt someone else. We don't want your kids damaging our city property, and we don't want them, breaking the law. We don't want to. Most important thing is the safety. These things can be very dangerous to not only the rider but other people, and they cause significant property damage, which we're really tired of. We're limited budget and trying to keep our parks beautiful like everyone expects. These things are causing us grief, and so just be aware the enforcement is afoot, and we're going to enforce the full extent of the law and do what we got to do to protect not only your kid, other people, but our property. So, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, and this isn't just a Draper problem. This is a statewide problem. This is happening all over. And again, like you said, Mayor, that the issue is we want kids to be safe. Have fun. There's proper places for these things. Use it there, keep it safe, and keep it off the roads.
Yeah, if I'm being honest, I'd like to go out to 5 Mile Pass and try one of these.
Yeah.
I really would, because it looks fun. It does look fun. But so anyway, Lieutenant Elkins, thanks for coming, and thanks for all your service, your many years to us. We are grateful to have, Mike is a kind of police officer that if you're a mayor, looking for what kind of cops do we want, what kind of police officers do we want in our community, Mike exemplifies what we want in every regard. He's even-tempered. He's well-reasoned, thoughtful, but he also does his job, and he's really good at teaching young officers how to have that level head and that the kind of customer service that we expect out of law enforcement. I know that's a weird concept, but I always tell you guys that whenever I talk to you, a lot of times you're the first and only people citizens might actually interact with. It's from Draper City. So we expect you guys to treat everyone with respect, but you still got a tough job. But I think you've done that over the years, and I appreciate all your years of working for us.
Well, it's been a great community to work for. It's easy to invest in it.
Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, watch out for the scooters, the Surons, the one wheels, all of it. Learn the law, because the one thing's for sure, not knowing the law is not a defense. And now we have a detailed state law, so make sure if you've got these in your family, you figure out what the law is, and so you can comply. Thank you. For timely information about Draper City news, events, traffic alerts, and public safety emergencies, you may subscribe to email or text notifications from Draper City by visiting draperutah.gov/notify, or follow us on social media at Draper City, Utah on Facebook, at Draper City on Instagram and X, and at Draper City Gov on YouTube. This has been Draper City Talk. Please join us again.